The crashes were brutal, and many paid the ultimate price.
Crash into the wall, into the air!
Randy LaJoie decided that had to change. He clawed his way to NASCAR's top level for 12 seasons. Then watched the sport he loved take people he cared about. While everyone said, that's racing, Randy asked a harder question. Why are survivable crashes still killing drivers? He found the weak link where no one was looking, the seat. So he stepped away from trophies and started building custom-fitted racing seats designed to hold the driver in place when the impact hits.
Hard into the wall!
On this episode of Dive Bar Pilot, the story of a racer who turned grief into a mission, trading victory lanes for a TIG torch, so the next generation makes it home alive.
Hey, my name is Jim, the Dive Bar Pilot. I fly around the country in my new visionjet, introducing you to some of the most interesting people in America. I'll show you their passion for life, what drives them, as we learn more about their incredible accomplishments. So climb on board with me as we travel around our great country, visiting interesting destinations. I'll give you the behind-the-scenes look at amazing events and the most fascinating people in America who make it all happen.
Wow. Crash into the wall, into the air, goes Newman.
Upside down.
In a shower of sparks.
Have you ever noticed how race cars have some incredible crashes, and yet the drivers usually get out and walk away?
Oh, that's a heavy hit. Right rear, right into the wall, head on.
Two car gets sideways, gets into the right rear quarter panel, and then this 88 car just slams the wall, went up in the air.
Well, it didn't used to be that way.
Jeff Gordon's upside down, and Kurt Busch's car is destroyed.
It was not uncommon for several race drivers at the top levels of racing would die every year. But a lot of changes to the cars and the equipment has made racing a lot safer than it used to be. Today, I'm flying up to Charlotte, North Carolina with my friend Carlos to get fitted for a new seat for two classic NASCAR stock cars that we're going to drive in the classic 24 Hours Le Mans in 6 months. These cars are exactly as they were when they were built 20 or 30 years ago. But if we're going to race these cars at Le Mans at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour, we want the latest and the safest equipment available. So follow along with me as we look at these amazing classic race cars and meet the men who help make them safe.
And we're here today. I'm here with my friend Carlos because you're prepping two cars for me and Carlos that we're going to run the classic Le Mans at the classic 24 Hours Le Mans.
It'll be a really fun trip. We're looking forward to it. Let me show you your cars. Here's the two that are going to Le Mans for Carlos.
So these are two classic NASCAR cars owned by my good friend Carlos, who's not wearing a Dive Bar Pilot hat. But so we're taking these two to Le Mans, and I'm going to be able to drive this beautiful Gatorade car, and Carlos is going to drive the Rainbow Warrior. Tell us about these cars.
So the 24 car was built in 2011. If I remember correctly, it ran Michigan and Pocono in 2011.
Jeff Gordon has 2 wins here, both of which came after he won the previous week's race, just like he did a week ago at Pocono. However,
and then it was used for Charlotte Motor Speedway. They were a 3 to 5 cycle deal. 3 to 5 races was about all they ran them back then. So this did get verified through the proper channels, and it is a real Jeff Gordon race car. I think it's going to be really neat to see this one over in Le Mans. I don't think there's another Jeff Gordon car going. I mean, this is going to be a fan favorite. It really will.
Where's the engine?
So the engine's getting serviced right now. We're basically doing a full nut and bolt service to the cars just to make sure that everything is fresh and ready to go. And then this one, Cliff Stewart Racing. The thing I love about this car, these teams back in the day would only build one short track / road course car. And this is their short track road course car, which is a near impossible find, and you found it. He brought it to us for the restoration. And I remember when Carlos first brought us this car, he says, I've sanded on the sides of this thing and I can't find any green. And I said, well, you're not sanding in the right spot. So we took the DA and we just started plowing down through the roof. And we got down under about 4 layers of paint. And there was that original Gatorade green. And then we got this thing in front of Darrell Bryant, who was the crew chief back then, the original crew chief for this car. And he verified that it was the actual car, the real race car. So she is documented and verified as well. And this will just be another really fun toy over there at Le Mans. And something those guys aren't expecting to see, I promise.
Right. Gatorade was a big sponsor for many years, right?
Yes, from Bobby Allison to Rusty. And then the other neat thing about this is Rusty Wallace's Rookie of the Year car when he won Rookie of the Year in NASCAR.
Carlos, how did you find this car?
Yeah, so I found this at St. Pete, and a friend of mine told me that he had this NASCAR that he had bought, and he believed it was a Gatorade car, and it piqued my interest.
So you did the restoration of this car.
We did.
When? How long ago was that?
Is that 5 years ago, roughly?
You love this older stuff, don't you?
I do. I really do. And you'll see that when we get to the farm. Yeah. That is the 70s and 80s. That was, I think that was the best era for NASCAR.
We need a really safe seat. So we came all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina, to LaJoie seats, where we're going to have a modern, safe racing seat made for these classic NASCAR cars.
So I want to introduce you to Randy LaJoie, another one of the most interesting people in America who's got a passion for life. Randy, you saved hundreds of lives. So let's talk about what you do and how you got into this business.
Well, that's my new checkered flag. Obviously, I started as a racer growing up, go-karts. So at 18 years old, I started up in the Northeast in Connecticut at the old Danbury Fair Speedway in a modified car. Busch North won the championship in 1985. There's a pretty good video of me crashing at Daytona, pretty bad, in 1984.
Challenge to the bubble and in trouble is 07 LaJoie. Randy LaJoie slamming into the wall. Randy LaJoie out of Norwalk, Connecticut, destroying his automobile.
When it hit bottom first, which saved my life. Because if it would have hit sideways, fiberglass seat, I'm sure I would have went out the right side window. When I would drive other people's cars without shoulder supports and just the rib supports, I thought I was flying out the right side window. Every time I go in the corner, and I had to hold yourself in with your elbow, and it just didn't feel as good as my old fiberglass seat. Everybody else's cars weren't comfortable because they didn't have my shoulder support. Everybody else's seats, they fit 80% of your body, whereas my fiberglass seat fit 95% of your body. 94, 95, NASCAR said, hey, no more fiberglass. And I said, okay, now what? So I brought my seat to all the seat builders that were here. It's kind of difficult.
You're working with aluminum?
Yeah, all aluminum. Well, luckily I had a guy that was a hell of a guy with an English wheel. And he English wheeled pieces to fit on the outside of the fiberglass, welded them all together, and that was my first seat. So I took an old seat and I cut it. I didn't think they could stamp it one piece. And I said, okay, if I do this, obviously I'm going to have to make a fixture to hold it to so you can weld it. It's 16 different measurements. It goes in and out, up and down. And I said, okay, obviously I'm going to be in a seat business here.
I knew the guys that own that. Okay.
Yeah. I could build you one. Yeah. I could build one for
you. Mentioned earlier, race car drivers were dying in these cars.
Yeah.
And how that motivated you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Adam Petty was a good friend. Great kid. New Hampshire, we lost him. Blaze Alexander.
Here. Let's see. Oh, there's contact, and Alexander hard into the wall. Hard.
Tony Roper.
The 32nd lap of the race, when Roper's truck collided with a competitor, turned hard right and struck the trackside wall just about head on. Rescue workers had to cut the roof off the truck to get the unconscious driver out.
Kenny Irwin. I mean, I was like, wow, well, what are we doing here? What's causing this? And the Hans device, I think the first time I put on the Hans was after Earnhardt. So that would have been '02. I had to change the design of the seat to fit the Hans device because you had to move your headrest back to be comfortable.
Because it was a combination of all the seats and the Hans that saved so many lives.
Absolutely, yeah, the Hans has. One of my first crash tests I went to, I couldn't believe the amount of movement that 180-pound dummy had. I mean, we're containing Jell-O because your body's 60% fluid.
Tell us some of your seats and some of the innovations in your seats and why they look the way they look.
Okay, this here is a NASCAR style. All of the major series, ARCA, Xfinity, or O'Reilly, whatever, Saturday cars and the Cup cars and the trucks, they have to have all belts to seat, which means all the belts have to be attached to the seat. So the
seat is bolted to the car.
Correct.
And the seat belts are bolted to the seat.
Yeah. So what I've done, I put these cast, I call them earmuffs. This is where you mount it to the car. And it gives you 3 locations for your belts, your lap belts. As you see in the front, this here is cut out for your 5-point. This is cut out for your 6-point. So it's really a 7-point system. This here gets a flat plate and the belts are all attached right to here. So that does 2 things. Keeps the belts very short and it keeps them the right angle.
And when did this become standard where the
2011 NASCAR? The Cup cars.
In 2011, it became standard that the seat belts are actually attached to the seat itself.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
This is one of my first edition seats. The stamps are the same. So my stamps are the same. But what I put on the back, I just put sheet metal on it. I wanted to give it a little strength.
Now they look like this.
Yeah.
Where there's actually tubing.
Yeah.
It's a roll cage around your seat.
Correct.
Yeah.
The next time you watch a race and see an incredible crash, and then the driver gets out and walks away, you will know that it wasn't by accident. These drivers are alive because of Randy, Bill, and others like them in the industry that refuse to accept anything except life. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll introduce you to some of the most interesting people in America.